I'm now reading about American snowboarder wins first gold medal of Sochi Olympics. First Olympics of Sochi Olympics. This time around, the judges gave the score he deserved, and gave the United States the first gold medal of the Scotch Games. The 20-year-old from Park City, Utah, stomped the 93.5 on his first run on the Olympic slopestyle contest, and watched it hold up in a massive upset. As top competitors of Canada took advantage with an array of technical tricks like the Japan Air and the double nose grab. And with having dropped out of slopestyle earlier this week, picked up the mantle for the Americans as the only U.S. rider in the finals. Twirled an American flag in celebration after his victory was secure when score fell short of the medal stand in the event's final run. The gold was also the first medal won by a U.S. Olympian in Russia. The United States boycotted the 1980 Summer Games in Moscow, the only other time Russia has played host to the Olympics. It's the best ambassador you could have for the sport, U.S. snowboarding coach Mike said. Was surprised he even reached the finals, tweeting his disbelief after he qualified in the semifinals Saturday morning. Slopestyle was making its Olympic debut, and expressed concern about the judge-by-committee system after Thursday's qualifying round. He was skeptical judges would revert his unique tricks over the spinning favored by other competitors. I would rather not conform to making the judges happy, said. Stan of Norway took the silver with a 91.75 in his second run. McMorris, who was competing with a broken rib, finished with the bronze at 88.75. White withdrew from the event on Wednesday, one day after jamming his left wrist in a training run at Rosa Extreme Park. The course had been criticized by some riders for its hardness, and White said he didn't want to risk injury at the expense of pursuing his third straight gold medal in the halfpipe. Wasn't among those riders. He downplayed the dangerousness of the course earlier in the week then timid on Saturday. White saluted his performance and that of the other two medalists. Maybe it's about 3 minutes. Yeah, I'm cool. Let's read health. I'm going to read first guidelines issued to prevent stroke in women. Just as heart attack symptoms may differ between men and women, so do stroke risks. Now, the American Heart Association has issued its first guidelines for preventing strokes in women. They focus on birth control, pregnancy, depression, and other risk factors that women face uniquely or more frequently than men do. The advice applies to patients like Dennis Miller, who suffered a stroke last year that fooled doctors at two Northeast Ohio hospitals before it was finally diagnosed at the clinic. She was 36 and had no traditional risk had no traditional risk factors. There was nothing to indicate I was going to have a stroke, other than frequent migraines with dizziness or altered senses such as tingling, ringing ears, or sensitivity to light, Miller said. These headaches are more common in women, and the new guidelines issued Thursday flagged them as a concern. Miller recovered, but has some lingering numbness and vision problems. Each year, nearly 800,000 Americans have a new or recurrent stroke, which occurs when a blood vessel to the brain is blocked by the clot or bursts. Stroke is the third leading cause of death for women and the fifth leading cause for men. The key to surviving one and limiting disability is getting help fast and recognizing symptoms such as trouble speaking, weakness or numbness in one arm, or drooping on one side of the face. Stroke risk rises with age, and women tend to live longer than men. Women are more likely to be living alone when they have a stroke, to have poorer recovery, and to need institutional care after one. Certain stroke risks are more common in women: migraine with aura, obesity, and irregular heartbeat called atrial fibrillation, and metabolic syndrome, a combo of problems including blood pressure and blood sugar. General guidelines for stroke prevention currently focus on controlling blood pressure and diabetes, quitting smoking, more exercise, and healthy diet. The new ones aid gender-specific advice, said Dr. Stroke Chief of that in Winston, NC. She led the panel that wrote the guidelines, published in Stroke, a Heart Association journal. Some highlights said birth control pills, which women should be checked for high blood pressure before starting on oral contraceptives, because the combination raises stroke risk. The risk is small, but rises steeply in women ages 45 to 49. More than 10 million American women use birth control pills. Strokes are uncommon during pregnancy, but the risk is still higher, especially during the last 3 months and soon after delivery. The big worry is preeclampsia, dangerously high blood pressure that can cause a seizure and other problems. It doubles the risk of stroke after life, and it quadruples the risk of high blood pressure after pregnancy. Said women with a history of high blood pressure before pregnancy should be considered for low-dose aspirin, around 81 milligrams. After the first 3 months of pregnancy, the calcium supplements any time to lower the risk of preeclampsia. The guidelines say pregnant women with very high blood pressure, 160/110 and above, should be treated with medications, and treatment may be considered for those with moderately high blood pressure, 150/159/100 to 109. Certain blood pressure medicines are not safe during pregnancy. The guidelines note aspirin. It's usually recommended for anyone who has already had a stroke unless the stroke was caused by bleeding rather than a clot, or if bleeding risk is a concern. Bushnell say aspirin also is often recommended for people with to lower the risk of stroke and other problems. Low-dose aspirin every other day can be useful to lower stroke risk in women 65 and older unless its benefit is outweighed by the potential for bleeding or other risks. The guidelines say women are 4 times more likely to have migraines than men, and they often coincide with hormone swings. Migraine alone don't raise the risk of stroke, but ones with aura do. Using oral contraceptives and smoking raise this risk even more, so the guidelines urging stopping smoking, irregular heartbeat. Women over age 75 should be checked for atrial fibrillation. Doctors do this by taking a pulse or listening to the heartbeat. Hormone therapy should not be used to try to prevent strokes. The new guidelines put women issues on the table, so more doctors talk about them. Stroke chief at the clinic. Gender does make a difference. The medical community has neglected it for some time. I'm now going to read about Woody Allen denies adopted daughter's renewed molestation accusation. Film director Woody Allen defended himself on Friday from newly published accusations by his now adopted daughter that he molested her as a child, calling the allegations ludicrous and a product of a bitter custody battle with his former partner, actress Mia Farrow. An advanced copy of an Allen op piece to be published in the Sunday edition of the New York Times was posted online 5 days after Farrow, 28, revived and elaborated on a decades-old accusation in an open letter on the Times website. Allen was never arrested or persecuted after the allegations of sexual abuse against him surfaced in 1993 and were investigated by state police in where Mia Farrow and her children lived. He said the accusations originally struck him as so I didn't give it a second thought. And he quoted finding and he quoted findings from a review of the case by the Child Sexual Abuse Clinic of the Yale New Haven Hospital, which he said concluded, it is our expert opinion that was not sexually abused by Mr. Allen. He said he agreed with the clinic's findings that account was likely to be product of an emotionally vulnerable child who was caught up in a disturbed family and was coached or influenced by her mother. Of course, I did not molest. Adam wrote, I loved her and hope one day she will grasp how she has been cheated out of having a loving father and exploited by a mother more interested in her own festering anger than her daughter's well-being. Farrell stood by her allegations in a statement published on the ABC News website on Friday. Woody Allen has an of lawyers and publicists, but the one thing he does not have on his side is the truth, she said. I won't let the truth be buried, and I won't be silent. Reuters was not able immediately to reach representatives for Maya and for comment. Maya Farrow, now 68, who appeared in more than a dozen of Allen's films, ended a 12-year relationship with the director in 1992 amid revelations that he had an affair with her then 22-year-old adopted daughter, Sun-Yi Pravin, whom Allen later married. Allen has long asserted that Farrow fabricated the molestation claims against him and planted them in his mind as a ploy to damage him in a custody battle that ensued. The sex abuse claim against the prolific four-time Oscar winner, famed for such films as Hole and was first revisited by Farrow and her mother in an interview with Fair magazine last year. Accusations revived at awards season. Maya Farrow's son, Ronan, the brother of and an estranged son of Woody Allen, revived the molestation claim on Twitter in response to a telecast of January's Gold Globe Award, where Allen was given a Lifetime Achievement honor. Dylan Farrow then expanded on the accusations in the New York Times that Saturday, asserting that Allen assaulted her in the closet-sized attic of the family home 20 years ago. She also detailed the pattern of what she said were other instances of sexually inappropriate behavior by Allen toward her over the years. Allen has been nominated for Best Original Screenplay at the Oscars on March 2nd for his latest film, Blue Jasmine, which also garnered acting nominations for Kate and Allen did not suggest his daughter was lying. Allen did not suggest his daughter was lying, but rather that she had come to believe she's been molested after many years of indoctrination by her mother. He also cited Tunis Pharaoh's older brother, Moses Pharaoh, as a character witness in his defense, quoting him from a recent People magazine article asserting that Allen never molested his sister and that their mother succeeded in creating an atmosphere of fear and hate towards him. Moses Pharaoh, who was 14 at the time, is now a 36-year-old family therapist. Allen also questioned Maya Pharaoh's honesty in relation to his presumed biological son, whose paternity was called into question by his mother in a Vanity Fair exposed that year. In it, she stated publicly for the first time that she believed Ronan might actually have been fathered by singer Frank, with whom she had an affair while she was with Allen. Granted, he looks a lot like Frank, with the blue eyes and facial features, but if so, what does this say? Wrote, even if he is not Frank's, possibilities she raises that he could be indicates she was secretly intimate with him during our years. Allen wrote, not to mention all the money I paid for kid support. I was supporting Frank's son. Again, I want to call attention to the integrity and honesty of a person who conducts her life like that. Of a person who conducts her life like that. The filmmaker and previously issued detailed denials of the latest molestation claims against him through statements by his attorney in multiple television appearances. This week, Allen wrote in his personal rejoinder on Friday. Allen wrote in his personal rejoinder on Friday. This piece will be my final word on this entire matter, and no one will be responding on my behalf to any further comments on it by any party. Reporting by Eric Casio and really, I'm kind of boring now, fucker. Let's read some news of science. I'm now going to read. Disappearance of wild flowers may have doomed Ice Age giants. Flower power may have meant the difference between life and death for some of the extinct giants of the Ice Age, including the mighty woolly mammoth and woolly rhinoceros. Scientists who studied DNA preserved in Arctic permafrost and in the remains of such ancient animals have concluded that these Ice Age beasts relied heavily on the protein-rich wildflowers that once blanketed the region. The dramatic Ice Age climate change caused a huge decline in these plants, leaving the Arctic covered instead in grasses and shrubs that lack the same nutritional value and could not sustain the big herbivorous mammals. The scientists reported in the journal Nature on Wednesday. The change in vegetation began roughly 25,000 years ago and ended about 10,000 years ago, a time when many of the big animals slipped into extinction, the researchers say. Scientists for years have been trying to figure out what caused this mass extinction. When two-thirds of all large bloody mammals in the northern hemisphere died out. Now we have, from my perspective at least, a very credible explanation of the United States of the University of an expert in Asian DNA who led an international team of researchers said in the telephone interview. The findings contradicted the notion that humans arriving in these regions during the Ice Age caused the mass extinction by hunting the big animals into oblivion. The so-called overkill or hypnosis. We think that the major driver is not the humans, said, although he did not rule out that human hunters may have delivered the coup de grace to some species already diminished by the dwindling food supplies. The Arctic region once teemed with herds of big animals, in some ways resembling an African savanna. Large plant eaters included woolly mammoths, woolly rhinos, horses, bison, reindeer, and camels, with predators including toothed cats, lions, and huge short-faced bears. The scientists carried out a 50,000-year history of the vegetation across the Arctic and North America. They obtained 242 permafrost sediment samples from various Arctic sites and studied the feces and stomach contents from the mummified remains of Ice Age animals covered in places like they determined the age of the samples and analyzed the DNA. Well, many scientists have thought the ecosystem has been grassland and the big animals were grass eaters. The study showed it instead was dominated by a kind of plant known as forbs, essentially wildflowers. The whole Arctic ecosystem looked extremely different from today. You can imagine these enormous steppes with no trees, no shrubs, but dominated by these small flowering plants. Said Christian, a botanist at the Natural History Museum at the University of Oslo, said the permafrost contained a vast frozen DNA archive left as footprints from past ecosystems that could be deciphered by exploring animal and plant collections already stored in museums. I'm going to read about some odd news. Now reading about new surveillance technology capable of watching you too. It sounds like something out of a paranoid Hollywood thriller. New surveillance technology that can keep tabs on people, lots of people for hours at a time. This is a Micron-based script. Low. The technology is real, and according to an in-depth report by the Washington Post, already being used to solve violent crimes. Follow Mike on Twitter.